Hold up.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the third episode of LinkedTalk. Today, I'm pleased to be joined with an expert in visual merchandising. She has more than 20 years of expertise in this field and 7 years of expertise on experience in visual merchandising in GCC region. Hi, Marilyn.
Hi, how are
How are
you
you
today?
today? I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for taking the time to be joining us today to enlighten us about visual merchandising. Before we start, I have been doing some research and some reading about visual merchandising. I'm not going to say that I wasn't estimating visual merchandising because it's too big and too far word. But I was not having that understanding and the importance of visual merchandising. And today I'm more pleased to have you, so at least you can enlighten people like me who had no clue of the importance of visual merchandising. If you can give us a small introduction, what is VM or visual merchandising?
Sure. So visual merchandising basically it's a process how to optimize a product when it lands on the ground. So first, of course, you have the process of the buying and receiving the product, and then you have a process of allocating and the product actually hitting on ground. And this is where the visual merchandising comes into place, where we basically do our magic to attract the customer, engage the customer, and motivate the customer in order to lead to a purchase. So of course, backtracking a little bit, it's I would say it's a merge of creativity and strategy and commerciality all in one bubble. We basically analyze quite a lot of data, see what product are we receiving on the ground, and how best we can display it in order to create a story and enlighten the customer through a beautiful customer experience.
That's it's good that you have mentioned customer experience because I'm from that field, and in matter of fact, I was ignorant between brackets about that visual merchandising play a vital role in customer experience, because especially in this hyper competitive market, you are facing competition, or any business is facing competition with brick and mortar businesses like them. Like for example, if I'm a retailer, I'm facing difficulties with stores that sell the same brand, and also there are online that they are now coming stronger, especially with COVID-19. So people are shifting somehow to the online shopping extra. So here is where the visual merchandising play the magic. So can you enlighten us what is the importance or what is the role of visual merchandising to help the companies to gain the competitive advantage and to retain the existing clients and attract new clients?
For sure. I would say that it is highly important to acknowledge that the customer is not looking to just buy anymore. The customers have a million and one options how they can purchase nowadays. So from the comfort of their home, and then it's like, okay, why would I drive to a store or to a mall to purchase, right? So it's not about buying, it's now about exploring. The customer wants to come to stores to explore, to have a beautiful environment, to have that human interaction, to have that advice. And ultimately it all stems from store traffic, right? So the
Mhm.
visual merchandising part is how do we attract that traffic to come into the store to actually experience all of that and have a beautiful customer experience with our salespeople as well. So I would say the strongest point in all of this is the sensory unit. So the sensory input, and I basically base it on the five senses. You have sight, hear, smell, touch, and taste. And it's exactly what it is. You know, you have the sight. So what is your first impression? What is your window story? How are you engaging that customer to stop in front of the store and dwell to see whether they're going to come in or not? And then it goes into lighting, and do you have the right lux level in your store? Is it a warm environment? And then the customer walks into the store, and the hearing part, do you have the right music at the right sound level, and is it music that gives the customer energy and motivation to linger longer in the store? That is what I say. Also, it's a part of taste. You can't really taste in a retail store, but the taste is the energy around you, the energy from the music, from the atmosphere, from the people, you know. So that also engages the length of the customer staying in the store. And then, of course, you have the touch, which is the product. Is the product laid out in the most optimized way? Do you have a point of touch, what we call an event zone, when you come into the store and there's something in the store that attracts you to be there? And of course, lastly is the smell. Some brands actually do it really well and they have their own scent in their stores. But again, this is part of the sensory input, you know, it's all these five senses merging together into giving that beautiful customer experience that you can't get online. So as said, you know, before it was the customer coming, dropping by to buy something and leave. Now it's for brick and mortar. It's like, what are we doing extra? How are we connecting with the customer on an emotional level? How are we offering that best experience to make them come to our stores, and also building brand loyalty? How do we retain our customer? How are we always one step ahead of the game? So I think this is all part of visual merchandising, because visual merchandising is not just the product on the shelf, it's actually the whole environment around, whether it's props and how do we put the product on a shelf or a hanger, or what is the journey, and is one item linking to another, and what are we trying to say with our collection, and you know, also having a strong background of data and commerciality in there, like what is the customer really looking for, what they really want, what is our bestseller, and it just goes and goes and goes until finally, you know, you actually manage to wrap up that beautiful experience into a purchase itself.
That's perfect. You have covered a lot of my questions. And uh, how visual merchandising are keeping up with trends? How you evolve as for example, as a business function or as part of the customer experience? Um, like if I'm an expert of visual merchandising, what should I do in order to make sure that my company, that I'm adding value to my company, especially as I said, the market now is hyper competitive. There is extreme competition, whether direct or indirect.
I think touch basing on the value and benefits first. There is two facts that I really like to go with. You get 1/10 of a second to actually engage a customer in a sense of visual. So basically, you have very little time to actually attract someone's attention in order for them to come to the store. And 65% of the population in the world are actually visual learners. So people do engage by a visual element rather than a word um, or a statement. So it's impact, right? So this is again how we go from just buying into an exploration phase, and also how the loyalty builds and how you are exactly one step ahead of the game. It is not just this is it, this is my collection, and you know, come to the store. The customer really wants more. And going then to the VM trends, I mean, you know, I would say that the internet is everybody's best friend nowadays. You can Google pretty much anything. However, going through internet and apps and subscriptions and going through comp shops, understanding what the market is, how the market is trending and how other competitors are doing things, it's one side of things. However, emotional connect only builds by personal inspiration. So this is how you get inspired as a human being, and you get that inspiration and convert it into a journey for the customer itself. So I would say the way you stand out of the box is really how you manage to connect emotionally with a customer. So customers don't want to see just windows. They don't want
Yeah,
to see a hanger on a
sure.
product. They don't want to see just a beautiful jumper folded on a shelf. Now it's more about personal inspiration. How do you deliver your personal message? Of course, there's a big gap, a big cap, I would say, for brand DNA, and making sure that you really expose the brand DNA and the brand identity and what the brand stands for, and also adding in a layer of inspiration in there to make the journey even more worthwhile. So to answer your question about VM trends and how do you keep up, that's exactly it. Of course, knowing what is happening out there in the world, inside the market, but also a personal level of inspiration. It's like all that passion and all that knowledge that you have, how do you adapt it on the floor itself?
Um, Marlene, we know that COVID-19 has shifted the mentality of many clients that they were into going to the shops or to the stores or to the boutiques to purchase their products, especially when we talk about luxury products. Not, the online market was facing difficulties in penetrating this market or to control this market share, because when it comes, for example, to luxury products, whether it's watch or jewelry or bags, extra, the clients were always preferring to go to the boutique instead of going online. But COVID-19 has shifted that, at least during this period. What is the role of visual merchandising to ensure that the businesses will not lose also this market share to the online shopping?
I would definitely say it's all about the storytelling part. I think the way I see a storytelling and the way I see product landing in a store, it's like this is your canvas and you're painting it. It's how you develop not develop, I would say, enhancing the brand identity and the brand DNA. Having a clear value proposition and a point of difference why the customers are going to come to your store in the first place. Um, and also opening the floor to explore. So what are we offering in the brick and mortar? Why are they coming here? What is our customer experience about our journey? How are we going to connect? How are we going to merge visual merchandising and marketing together to really build a compelling story? And I also believe in merging forces with operations. So I always say, the best success rate you will get is if visual merchandising and the operations team merge together. You have a strong base of data and customer service in there along the side of creativity and strategy. And once you merge those two together, I really believe that the world is your oyster. The sky is the limit. And yeah, I think it's all about teamwork, understanding what the customer wants, definitely a good insight of data in order to get to the right product, in order to make sure that you basically paint your canvas and present it to the audience there.
Thank you. Marlene, you have mentioned several times visual storytelling. If you can give me a definition for visual storytelling, what does it mean? Like, so for the audience to understand, and for me as well to understand what is visual storytelling.
I think there's two ways how you see storytelling. I would say that first things first, storytelling is all about the brand DNA and the brand identity to make sure that you have a strong story there into communicating the right DNA of the brand and communicating what the brand is all about. And then there's the storytelling in store. So whether you are building a window and you have mannequins in there, what are the mannequins doing? What are they saying? Who are they representing? It is not just by putting a dress on a mannequin. Where is this mannequin going? Where is this person going? What is she doing? Is she having breakfast, lunch, or dinner? Is she meeting friends? And this is where what I keep on saying, the connection comes.
Mhm.
You don't want to just dress the window and walk away. You want to dress the window and walk out with a statement and a story and ensure that the people are dwelling enough in front of the window in order to come into the store. And it goes again in the store as well. So whether it's whether the brand DNA is volume and you're just visual merchandising by product led. So you have, a wall of denim or a wall of sweaters or a wall of t-shirts where the customer can just come in and directly purchase what they need. Or whether you visual merchandise by wardrobe, we say, and then it's like, you have the jacket and the top and the pants and you're making a whole outfit. Whatever the direction is, you have to have a compelling story in order for the customer to stop. So if you are a mass volume retailer, you still have to make that particular department engaging enough in order for the customer to stop and touch the product and actually get the interest there. Or whether you want to try and link sell from the floor itself and going from one item to another, whatever which way you go, you have to tell a compelling story. And this is where it differentiates a little bit from online shopping to brick and mortar. Brick and mortar, we still have the playgrounds to actually tell these stories and enjoy the moments with the customers and the human interaction and the human touch and the human thought behind it. I still think that this is quite viable, and yes, COVID-19, unprecedented times, and of course, the online shopping has taken a different level now. However, people do miss the human touch, and we will see this coming back to the stores.
Perfect. Marlene, this takes us to another question. So, if I say visual merchandising, is it an art or strategy? Because there are so many artistic factors that you have mentioned. For example, the display, the storytelling. From your point of view, as an expert of visual merchandising or VM, do you think that VM is an art or a strategy?
I would definitely say it's a mix of both. I mean, you have definitely the art touch, which is the artful skill, the creativity, the eye for detail, a flair on your fingertips that you can do something with a product that is compelling to a customer. And I would also say that these traits are a part of a personality. I don't fully see how you can train someone to have these skills. I think this is just part of a
Yeah.
personality, a part of a trait, let's say. And then definitely comes the strategic part. It is pointless to have all these creative ideas and all this, the eye for detail, but then don't know what to do with the product. The product is always supported by a process and by data. So I think the strategy part is definitely the process, the analytical side. How do you read data? What do you do with that data? How do you optimize it towards the product, towards the customer, and adapting your creative story into a commercial journey? I honestly feel that the artful skill and the strategy skill, when they actually are merged together, this is what customer experience is all about. And this is where the back of house and any other brand, any other firm, this would be the perfect scenario where you have the back of house of planning and allocation and buying and ops merging with visual merchandising and marketing, and then all together you make a compelling story, which is a division of art and strategy merged together.
Perfect. How do you measure the success or the effectiveness of VM in a company? For example, when we will be exploring any company, when they want to explore how good the customer experience, they mainly focus on the service provided, the mystery shopping or even the VOC, voice of clients, focus only on the service provider, the human interaction, the service provided by, for example, by the salesman or by the person who is in the boutique, and they ignore the fact to ask about visual merchandising. From your perspective, or you as an expert, how you measure the effectiveness of your VM or your strategies?
I would say that's a hard one to nail because visual merchandising is also very subjective and very opinionated, and you do not know how the customer is going to perceive it. However, in store, I would say definitely heat mapping to understand where the customer is stopping and what sells through particular zones in the store. Of course, windows sell through, so whatever you sell from the window and at what rate you're selling it. Having said that, the customer might have thought that the window is amazing, and then they enter in the store and they end up buying something else. So this is also a little bit, hit or miss. You do not exactly know um, how successful it is, but definitely in terms, there are specific KPIs that can help you understand how successful you are. So in terms of launching a beautiful window and then seeing an increase in traffic. So then it's like, okay, good, great. We get additional traffic. That means that our story, our impression of things is actually working. And then you have heat maps in the store to understand, oh, where is the customer stopping? How long is the customer stopping? What are the items that are selling from these areas? Then you have also displays that you actually get the details of what is in this particular display, and you cross sell them according to sales. So then it's like, okay, this item is doing really well, not doing well. If we move it here, does it still do well, or does it do better? Or so it's a lot of, I would say, manual observation and manual data, and then resting the floor every 2 weeks, and every 2 weeks rotating, seeing best sellers, weak sellers, and how you can improve the floor. Um, so yeah, I would say that that would be the best measures to go with, despite the fact that again it is quite subjective. And I would also say any mystery shopping and any customer scoring system Usually, these kind of on-spot visits or mystery visits would always have points regarding how is the energy in the store, how is the store perceived, do you enjoy dwelling in the store, how is the window, is the store clean. So these are also measures which help you guide how successful you are.
That's perfect. Um, the last question, Marlene. What would be your advice to any person who is interested in VM? Either he's already professional now or he has already an existing career. I would like to shift to VM, or a new grads who was exploring opportunities and interested in VM. What would be your advice to them?
Okay, so wow, I would definitely give this advice. First things first, understanding what visual merchandising is. It is not just about optimizing a product onto on a shelf or on a hanger. There is much more elements as we discussed today. So it's really, really having that good insight of what visual merchandising is and what it leads to. So this is really the last element. We are, as visual merchandisers, we are the last people that actually touch the product. So there's a big responsibility there, you know, to the customer journey and the customer experience. I would definitely say there has to be a degree of passion in there. It is not an easy role like any other role, of course, but definitely there needs to be a heightened level of passion and energy in there. Eye for detail, being able to take mental notes, you know, things that inspire you throughout the day, things that you have seen, and how do you capture those moments in the creative side in order to use them later on. Um, I always go by, you know, almost is not good enough. You know, it's always pushing yourself to the next level to see how you can better the service and better that experience. Remembering that, of course, visual merchandising is not just a service for the end consumer, it is also a service internally because you are a customer to operations. Basically, or the operations team rely on visual merchandisers to give them that last tool in order for the sales to happen. Um, and yeah, I would say understanding the good commercial side and data reading as well. I think this is something super important in order to make you successful. I think as a visual merchandiser, having the operation side and the commercial side always at the back of your head can really set you flying. Um, I would also say, I mean, for me, visual merchandising, as you can probably tell, it's really a passion of mine. I enjoy doing it so much, and it's really a way of living for myself. I think, as Steve Jobs said, the only way to do great work is to actually love what you do. And I think this is definitely a successful trait for a successful journey in visual merchandising.
I can see that. I can see how passionate you are about visual merchandising. And to be honest, this discussion, even it's short, I wish it could continue more. But the design of this discussion or this podcast is to make it short and beneficial. And it's been very beneficial and informative. Thank you so much for taking the time. It was a pleasure having you. And yeah, hope to have you again with another topic. And all the best.
Anytime. You too. Take care, everyone. Be safe.
Perfect, Marilyn.